we're dealing with technology that is changing rapidly.
So like the speed of progression is what intrigues you.
I started at the time of 2G, so we were just putting on sites where people can talk to each other. That was already one step. And then we had 2.5G, where you had the first data transfers possible between two phones. And that was also innovation. And then you had this 2.5, 3, 4G, and then 5G now.
I don't think I ever heard that people thought of the size of the company as a criteria of selection of their job.
Of course, reflecting now, there are certain things I wouldn't have done the way that I did at the time.
Like what?
I was usually the one who had a plan if something went wrong, because that type of critical thinking helped in my particular execution. But then when you bring those qualities in your personal life, that type of critical mindset can have its own adverse implications.
What was the most unexpected learning from the INSEAD experience?
The most unexpected one for me is
Onur, you've been with the telecom and technology companies for around 23 and 24 years, with likes of Motorola, Nokia, Sandvine. You started your career, I think, in Sofia in Bulgaria. Then you've been in South Africa. Then you traveled all around the world, and now you settled here in UAE, Dubai. You have quite a international career, let's say, just like every other INSEADer. And now you're turning 51 this year, and you're launching your startup.
Yes.
It's a good start for a great conversation.
Yeah.
Like, what is the first thing I need to know about you to know you better?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm from Turkey originally.
Turkey or
yes,
Turkey?
Turkey, yeah.
Turkey,
I think that's the right one, Turkey. Yeah. So let's call it Turkish.
Turkish.
Easy, I think to say. So yes, I started my career in Turkey, and then actually left. My first expatriate role was in Sofia, but I started before in Istanbul, and then worked. I had the privilege to work for companies like Motorola, Cisco, Nokia, and traveled around the world in career. I think the first thing to know about me is that I am already, I think, well experienced. Technology professional in terms of from a professional standpoint. And the other thing to know about me is that I have 4 children and I'm quite busy at home as well. Well, also I think I'm very passionate about progressive business leadership, which means I'm always looking for areas of improvement. That's what has fueled me throughout my career, always advancement and progression, achieving more. And that has led to the journey that I'm in now, basically. Before I hit 40, I decided to do my INSEAD degree because I thought that it was an important milestone. And before I hit 50, I decided to do my startup so that I don't go into midlife crisis. So, in a nutshell, it's about me.
It's a good timing.
Yes.
It's a good timing. But like, if we're coming back to your early days, so if I know correctly, both of your parents are teachers, and I think your father had some entrepreneurial experience.
Yes.
How it shaped you?
Yeah, I think good question. I think I was always had an entrepreneurial spirit in mind. Even I remember the times I graduated from high school and then in university, I wanted to start my own business. Always had this fuel in mind.
Why?
I don't know where it's coming from, right? I think I always wanted to be my own boss, drive things to a conclusion, drive things to in my own way. Although I was so young, I think I didn't know what my own way was, but I had this fuel inside me that I don't know where it's coming from. So always this itchiness that somehow told me that, okay, you have to start your own thing. Okay. Build your own path.
What was your first entrepreneurial endeavor?
My first entrepreneurial endeavor was trying to, I think, package, green products and then sell it. It was just a business case. I didn't do anything about it. My second one was something a bit more, I think, semi-entrepreneur, you would call it, because I was selling vacuum cleaners. So
Vacuum cleaners.
yes. So that was at the time very famous. This American-made super vacuum cleaners that was selling at $1,000, and you would get $100 commission. So that was my first actually entrepreneurial spirit and journey. So I decided to contribute to the family's downturn at the time, and then decided to do that and help support the family in terms of some of the expenses. And actually that relates to the other question that you asked. So my father had an entrepreneurial, journey or, a bit of an experience in there. So it didn't end up very well. And that has, I think, maybe resulted in the fear of failure in these early days. And that's why maybe I postponed it for so long. I loved tech always. I knew that I would love to travel and would flourish in an environment where I can lead teams. I just had that, insight, intuition. And with that, I have, though I had that, I think I probably postponed my decision to start my own company many times in the road. I did stupid things as well. So I angel invested in some large startups before INSEAD. And that was one of the reasons that I did INSEAD as well. And I lost a lot of money. So yeah, quite a few stories. But I think that in a nutshell, I had always that fire inside me.
So if I hear you right, so from the very beginning, you have this like itching entrepreneur inside you, willing to
take risk,
to get there, to get out in the world. But then you find yourself in the telecom career, telecom or technology career.
Yes,
so like how it happened? Was this the first? Was this the first career experience of yours?
No, actually, interestingly, I studied quite conventional engineering, which was not even electronics, computer engineering, or other engineerings that usually led to a career in telecoms. I studied civil engineering, and but when I started working, and I also already explored two type of jobs: one, design job in a design house, and then one field job managing field construction projects as a project engineer. My experience was not great because, as I think it relates to the fact that, again, I want progress and fast progress. That's what I'm always passionate for and would like to see in terms of my career progression, as well as I think anything that I deal with, execution, right? And I noticed that industry was a bit slow, not sufficient innovation inside, and I didn't also feel that I had a opportunity to progress fast in that career. And I was always, as I mentioned, passionate for tech. Always, was interested in computers, what's happening in innovation, technology, etc. And therefore, I applied to Motorola. Again, I was fortunate to get that job as a project manager, and I started my career at Motorola, and the rest is history. So I moved to telecoms and tech with a job at Motorola as an infrastructure manager even, and then moved on to project manager and advanced my career there. So, and the fact that you asked the question reminds me of I think the point that, so why I decided to stay, probably I felt that excitement, a rapid innovation, and change, because we were dealing with technology that is changing rapidly and innovating all the time, and continuous ability to learn. So that, I think, made me stay in the sector. I felt fulfilled, both in terms of learning experience, delivering value to the clients, and as well as the experience of career progression. So I was able to move very fast. At 34 years, I was a director, one of the first in Motorola at the time. So yeah, so that made me stay. So I felt that I can work hard and I can contribute, but I'm also able to progress fast in my career journey.
So like the speed of progression is what intrigues you, what drives you,
Good,
right?
good definition, I think.
Right?
Yes, yes. Acceleration, yes.
You're saying a lot of things that in telecom there was a big evolution in terms of technologies, and it was very exciting. Can you kind of share a little bit of the context? What type of technologies have you worked throughout these years?
Yeah, for example, I mean, now we are all hearing about 5G. I started at the time of 2G, right? So we were just putting on sites where people can talk to each other. So that was already one step. And then we had 2.5G, where you had the first data transfers possible between two phones. Okay. And that was also innovation. And then you had this ATMs that you can speak to immediately with your bank card. So that was possible through the GPRS times, as we call it, 2.5, 2.5, 3, 4G, and then 5G now that has been evolving. And I think have been involved in building all type of also new technologies, enabling voice, enabling data transfer, enabling video, and then ultimately enabling Internet of Things, as now it's called IoT, and the future of connectedness, connectivity. So yeah, and then I moved to a bit of a deep tech company for my last 5 years after Cisco, and there I also enjoyed the learning of working for a relatively smaller size company, like a medium-sized company, which was also a great experience for me, stepping in from large corporate world into a medium-sized company, where I had more autonomy, but I also had to take care of more things, which means that that I was not necessarily focusing on just set of responsibilities, but there were many things that I need to do from HR, administration, and other aspects, and responsibility was more, autonomy was more. That was, I think, a good stepping stone for me to move to my startup. That happened to be that way. I didn't design it by chance, but I always wanted more autonomy. So I believe it was also something that the universe brought to me, because I was looking for some sort of transition into entrepreneurship.
That's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So, and let's cover it a little bit later, this progression from the big company to the mid-sized company and to the startup, because I don't think I ever heard that people thought of the size of the company as a criteria of selection of their job. But before that, let's maybe get back to your early career days.
Sure.
So you're this passionate young man, and you're progressing in your career fast, and you're being promoted, you're becoming a manager, one of the youngest manager in the company out there. You're traveling the world, you're living the life for the fullest. What are the qualities, like the key qualities, that brought you to this success?
I think if I think about that, I was always passionate about customer's outcome. So I would always focus on what the customer needs. And if the customer had a wish or a requirement, it had to get done, of course, within the context and boundaries of our capabilities. But I think that's one. I had a very laser-sharp customer focus always.
Obsession on
getting it right for the customer.
Okay.
The other one is outcome focus. I was always focused on outcome, but then also execution, removing blockers, which exist anywhere in the projects. That's one of the reasons I did the startup, by the way, because of all the blockers and issues I felt during that, execution-wise, and also drive. Yeah. So I think, I'm pretty, solid in execution, I must say. Of course, reflecting now, there are certain things I wouldn't have done the way that I did at the time.
Like what?
Like what? For example, I was probably quite aggressive in the early stages of my career in terms of driving results. So to a point that I could maybe drive people very hard for outcomes. But okay, that was also what made me successful, right? In a way, and I could delegate more, I think. But at those times, I think you don't even know how to delegate. So I was just driving results. So, I mean, to be honest, we are talking about running multi-million-dollar projects all around the world with a team of 200 people, 1,000 subcontractors and stuff like that. So it's very intensive. So yeah, I gave all I had, basically. I think that's one way to say it. I was focused on it 100%. And also, as I mentioned, I was passionate about what I did.
Okay. And this this characteristics of yourself. I mean, they were not only in the professional life, but in a personal life as well. Did they help?
Yeah, I think a good question there. For example, what makes me successful, or what made me quite successful, I think, in the earlier times was about this analytical mindset that we bring from engineering, right? And the critical mind, which is somehow always looking at what could go wrong. And then potentially risk mitigation is also an area that I'm specialist in. Change management, risk mitigation, and also building teams. But building teams in a way that always thinking about what could go wrong next and taking proactive steps and mitigating those risks earlier by some proactive measures. So that type of thinking helps a lot in business, of course, because things go wrong and risks materialize. And if you have a plan and if you execute it, then, people say, wow, so this guy had a plan. And yeah, I was usually the one who had a plan if something went wrong, because that type of critical thinking helped in my particular execution, project execution, program execution, what have you. But then when you bring those qualities in your personal life, that type of critical mindset can have its own, adverse implications, such as being critical a lot also about home affairs, or a bit of being a perfectionist, of seeking excellence in what you do at work is something, but seeking excellence at what everybody does around you in a family or home is not the right thing. So, and that I came to a realization actually of that based on one of our, very, I think, very helpful coaches during the INSEAD. In the Global Executive MBA, we have a program called basically Leadership Development Cycle, and then through that we have a coach that's assigned. So I had the pleasure to also start exercising mindfulness through the INSEAD program and afterwards, which also helped me reflect much more and understand, what are my, I wouldn't call it shortcomings, but what are the areas that I need to be more aware, more mindful of, that I am carrying certain qualities from work to life, or work to home, or work to personal, professional to personal, let's try to say, that can be detrimental, right? So in a nutshell, I think, some of those qualities that I wasn't necessarily aware that I was carrying across 360 cannot be 360, right? You basically need to have some boundaries in terms of understanding and being mindful of where you operate. If you're in a fire, you have to act as a firefighter, fine, but you cannot act as a firefighter and run around like crazy at home trying to fight a fire if there is no fire, right? So basically that's more or less it, I would say, as an analogy. Yeah.
I like this one. I just want to take a moment to thank Martin Tronqui and the incredible team behind Infominio company for supporting this pilot episode of the podcast. Infominio is a brain-shoring company that helps corporates and consultants to outsource their business research and data analytics. I'm working with them since January 2023, and they do phenomenal work, across industries, helping their clients make informed decisions with the highest level of insights that I, as an ex-consultant, is used to. Their support allows me to continue bringing you conversations that matter, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you, Martin, and thank you, Infominio, for believing in this idea. That's interesting that when you're speaking about INSEAD, you're speaking about reflecting, you're speaking about mindfulness. I mean, this is not the things that you expect a person to talk when he's talking about the business school and the business school experience. So let's get closer to this. So it's 2012, right?
When you 12, 13 graduation, but 12 start, yes.
12 you started, 2013 you graduated. So you have, again, you have this great career and you're still going to INSEAD. Why? It's like one of those, basic questions when they ask to get you into the school. True. Why INSEAD?
Actually, I did a London Business School accelerated development program, they called at the time. That was 2009. And I really liked it. And it was in London, very intensive. Motorola sent me there as a part of my development, which I really appreciate. So I had this experience of a mini MBA, so to speak. But I felt that I didn't get sufficiently connected to understand the business management world in a wider vision, so to speak. So I understood execution or technology deployment. I understood how technologies, started and then executed and put in the works and helping the customers to basically provide certain functionalities. But what about the entire end-to-end business, how it is necessarily managed, how it's measured, financials around it. So I felt that there was a gap. Also, I mentioned to you that I had some failed attempts of angel investing, even pretending to or trying to do super angel investing when I couldn't afford. So that also talks to my risk appetite, right? So you can see that there are the signs of trouble. So anyhow, I had this urge for sure. And I was looking at planning my next phase. And I always having this urge in me to start my own business. I felt that I had to be prepared if and when, I won't call it if, I always knew that I'll step somewhere, but when I decide to start. So that was one decision point, right? Mm-hmm. So INSEAD would give me I would be equipped with the tools to basically be able to manage the business. Even I don't know everything perfectly, it would give me, it would help me being more equipped. It would also give me the credibility to, start a business because I would be also business trained, right? Also finance trained to an extent and other things. And I didn't know really the difference between a VC and a PE, right, at the time. So these are the things that I really learned that I really appreciate now that I'm doing my own business. And of course, after that, opening your eyes to horizon. Of course, those times we didn't also have a lot of materials now. Now I have Perplexity as an AI tool. I can write anything there and I will get a result in seconds in terms of explaining me very clearly and then bringing me references. But those times maybe we were not that connected. But regardless of it, I think that was the 1 point. Foundation is one of the reasons that I did it. Credibility, having the credibility not only externally but internally, also feeling that you are, building the confidence that I'm able to do this. And then the last but not least, I think that is relevant to networking. So the reason that I chose INSEAD was about the feeling that I got from INSEAD, a bit more friendly environment, a bit more solid networking, based in the region, and the entrepreneurial context or the entrepreneurial educational content that I saw in the INSEAD program, as opposed to LBS and others. But actually, I was between two, choosing LBS or INSEAD, and I chose INSEAD, particularly for the factor of entrepreneurial, entrepreneurial aspect of it. But I didn't choose it for reflection or mindfulness. I had no idea about that, so that came as a bonus on top. So I would say that you don't basically certainly learn things that you don't necessarily expect in such a program because it's quite rich, well connected. So it just helps you, I think, as anything that you do, right? If you are open and if you are willing to learn, then you open those channels with people, with contacts, with professors, with your colleagues, with your network that you made through that INSEAD. And that led to actually me volunteering also and leading the INSEAD Tech Club also for the last 4 years in the UAE. Now I've been doing it. I enjoyed it a lot. For the first 2 years, I think we did some great work in terms of contributing to society, in terms of Inseadalumni Association here. But yeah, the last 18 months has been a bit of a slow down period for me in terms of my contribution there, just because of my huge undertaking of the startup. So yeah, I mean, a long answer to your question, but I think this is the story is quite an important milestone in my in how I am basically thinking and how I operate today.
You paid for the program by yourself?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I got time off from Nokia. I was working for Nokia at the time. So I got time off. So they contributed to basically giving me 5 weeks of time off or something in addition to my vacations. But yeah, I paid for it myself.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was definitely worth it. If I was, I would have done it again for sure. So.
But tell me a little bit about these 2 years, right? It's 2 years, right? You're working simultaneously with doing the program.
It's about 15 months, yeah, more or less. Yeah.
15 months. So at the same time you work, at the same time you need to pay by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we hear all these nice things, and for me, INSEAD was also like a life-changing year, but it's hard. Like for me, at least, it was hard. Was it hard for you? How you dealt with all this stress?
Yeah, I think, it was hard. I think for many of my many of my classmates, I think maybe some of them even had more difficult times, right? Because they had to travel in even for the Abu Dhabi campus. So when I saw the commitment from some other people, I think it made me more motivated. It was hard for me because of my role. At the time, I was basically managing a portfolio of over about 1 billion euros, I think, for Nokia, Asia and Middle East, Africa, and I had to travel for that as well. So I tried to basically make the best out of both worlds in terms of also trying to carry some best practices that I had from work to my education environment and from education environment to work. But that's not always very straightforward. So yeah, struggle was there for sure. So there were some projects that I wanted to do. I was so motivated actually at the end of the INSEAD program that I wanted to interview a select number of attendees like you are doing for me now. And then I wanted to and then publish it, as a part of our graduation, but I couldn't do it, for example, because of work, backlog that I had to deal with, etc. So yeah, I'm think somebody that plans a lot. Maybe that's one of my points of improvement that I need to do. I want to do so many things at the same time. Then picking something that I need to really do it right is becoming a bit of a challenge. But I would definitely recommend to do such program, but it needs quality time. So some of our, I think, participants really struggled because they couldn't release the pressure from work as much as they should. Right? I managed to do it because at the time my environment was supportive, my leadership was supportive, and of course the culture of the place that you are working in is also matters a lot. So Nokia was a very supportive culture in terms of development, career development, personal development, regardless you pay it or not. So if I had a bit of a challenge in terms of following up certain work items, then the people around me would support me. So I was also lucky and fortunate to have such supporting team members.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good
thank
for
you.
you. Okay, so what was the most unexpected learning from the INSEAD experience?
Unexpected learning. Yeah, I think the most unexpected learning, again, based on my financial learning, was that, okay, well, you are better off investing in investing in mutual funds, or I don't know, anything that reflects the S&P 500, and don't seek an alpha on top of it from an investment perspective. I think that's investment number one. I think that was probably expected, I would say, because you could learn it from internet or something. But the most unexpected one for me was, I think the most unexpected one for me was the mindfulness. Yeah,
Mindfulness.
yeah. I wasn't expecting that I would become a mindfulness practitioner and be. I was already trying to do some meditation and things like that, but I wasn't really relating to it, understanding it, didn't know how. So that was, I think, one self-reflection, mindfulness, that area of awareness, looking inside, understanding that there is a voice in addition to who you are, realizing the inner voice, and as they call your second self. That's, I think, the most unexpected one.
Like after learning this thing, like how you changed your life, and did you? Maybe there are some routines that you introduced, or
yeah, I think I did. I think, yeah, definitely routines. In terms of it created more clarity. So one topic is, I heard many of my participants, the class participants, my classmates, and others who are attended after that. So what do you want to achieve out of this? And then they would say, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I have a career. I have this world around me taking place. There is, startup world. There is the investment financial world. There is those days were not so popular, but there's the crypto. There's this. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Where am I going to go, and why? Right. So people, I think, wanted to also relate to a sense of purpose, right? And but then purpose has to be linked to some sort of, you want to call it your calling, or your real your intuitions, which are coming basically based on what you really want to do in life. Or some people would say, what are you here for, right? So linking that what you want to do in life, and basically arriving to what's your inner calling, it's not possible really just by doing a analytical study or a spreadsheet or some analysis of you. It's possible by listening to basically yourself and trying to connect more to who you are deeper internally. And that would mean that you have to practice mindfulness and reflection, and understand why you are who you are. There are a lot of books about this, I think, now explaining that a bit more, how we are formed. 60% of our personality foundation is happening actually until the age of we are 5 to 6, but you don't necessarily have memories of that. Mm-hmm. So how do you relate to that and go there and understand how you're made up, and then the rest of it is environment plus your anyway, there's a foundation of a biology there. So basically relating to what made me who I am now, and trying to understand this is the starting point, right? And then understanding, what do I want to do next? And that was the confusion which I was hearing from many people, and that was my confusion also. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So that provided clarity for me to understand and realize that life happens, whether we like it or not. Around us there is certain things we cannot control, but what we can control is what we are working on, or what we to be clear about what we want from life, right? So that was, I think, the case. And also another experience of after there's personal, I think, turbulences that we all go through in life, and I went through a divorce, and then at that point, I think also it was I used really mindfulness, meditation, and such practice was also very helpful for me to manage that process in a healthy fashion, and not necessarily reacting to it, but internalizing and then responding to it in a way that is not necessarily critical, responsive, aggressive, but more mindful and taking the context of everything around it. So it makes you basically look at yourself first before, I think, reacting to a certain matter. Maybe for the last few years I've not been doing enough practice, but I should go back. So this reminds me of the fact that dealing with children also allows you to be there. You have a younger child, you would know. So when you are dealing with the children, there's no agenda or no confusion about what they want. I want this. I want to play this. I want to do it now. And when you look at their eyes, that's it. They are present. They are fully there. But today, or when we are dealing with each other, I think in a professional environment, whether we like it or not, based on experiences, based on advices, based on whatever, you try to start putting on a mask, right? That's basically required and expected even to polish your certain areas that you cannot necessarily bring to work, which is okay, needed. But then how does it make you authentic in the world with your dealings with everybody around? So that's what I'm coming to. So that authenticity you would feel when you're playing with your child, because you're present fully 100%, and she's also present 100%, and there's no other thing, other agenda, other concerns. Your inner voice saying you should do something, or you should have done this, you should have done that. I think that's the part that was most helpful for me. I think I deviated from your question a little bit, but I hope that was helpful.
Interesting. So, when you learned this skill, right, this science of reflection and mindfulness, did your work approaches changed?
Yes.
How you deal with the teams, how you deal with the
absolutely.
corporate?
Absolutely, it changed. I think.
How?
I was always a team player in a way. I think I wasn't necessarily someone who was to do, maybe a bit demanding, but maybe aggressive, but at the end of the team player. But I wouldn't necessarily feel that I had this, I don't want to call it level of EQ, but being able to basically relate to what the other person is. I would always focus on, okay, this is what we need to do, so let's just get it done, right? But then ultimately I learned that things don't work that way, because other than getting this thing done and getting an outcome, there is obviously personalities involved, there's egos are involved. So I think that was the first time that I could define what an ego is, right? And how is important, useful. But if you are not aware of what an ego is and what does it mean for us and for others, then we are jumping into a field of minefield, because you don't know how to navigate. And then if somebody's egos is blows up, then then you're there. So what happened? Well, it was just an ego,
Yeah.
And I think this is what helped me a lot. And second one is that I started to have more meaningful discussions, particularly on my one-on-ones for performance assessments and others. And I would focus on basically two things. One is what makes that person tick. So what makes that person most enthusiastic? What's your passion? When are you most effective, or when do you feel during your day working on, say you work on a business spreadsheet, you work on talking to clients, you work on internal meetings, you work on a conference call, you work on chatting with your friends. Out of this, let's say, 5 experiences I just mentioned, when do you feel at your best? Yeah? What makes you really feel the best? And then I would identify that area. For example, for someone it would be customers. For another person it would be coaching. For another person it would be research, right? Because we all have these areas. I'm sure you would feel at your best doing something. Although we had to do so many things at work, right? So I would identify that area, and then I would link it to a project that I'm working on, an initiative. For example, I have this customer having this problem, so let's work on an initiative with you. So we identify a program around that, and then you go interview the customer, bring this internally, you build a business case, and then you move forward with this, for example. So these are the things that I would, it helped me basically connect the business needs and business requirements.
Okay, Onur, so my question is this learning about the mindfulness and about self-awareness, how it shaped your approach in your work, in your interactions with the teams.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very good question. As a professional, as I was, I think, indicating before, what drove my success was also driving a certain outcome, and I wasn't necessarily very aware of the personalities around it, and then developing some sort of emotional connection, I think, to people. What helped me during this mindfulness journey is also to identify what ego is. So we all was talking about egos, but I couldn't really comprehend what does it really mean. So it helped me to understand what an ego is. Okay, egos are useful and necessary for us to operate, but they're also quite volatile. So they tend to, in an operational environment, even in a professional environment, basically become distractions sometimes, or it can be enabled to, help us to drive teams in a super performance. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that during the execution of a project, for example, or a program, or a simple day-to-day business management, that I started to become more aware of a kind of minefield, so to speak. And this minefield are sometimes the egos of people popping up, and could be, potentially real distractions and problems for work and for business performance. So that, I think, was a good awareness to build. And the other awareness to build was about managing teams, both alignment with my peers and having meaningful dialogues, also with my team members, and identifying the strengths and core interest areas of these individuals that I work with. And so my learning, again, and there are, a lot of books and research about it, but my personal learning is once we identify a core interest of a person, about what makes them really motivated, what's their passion about, linked to what are their core strengths, and identifying a business problem or an opportunity that they can relate to and would be more motivated to work on based on those core strengths and core interest areas, is really this where magic happens, as I call it, because where really you get a natural motivation to work on a certain topic, and then also the business problem is not anymore a business problem. It becomes a good combination of a personal interest and a meaningful work somebody basically feels fulfilled to do, and at the same time create a very basically usually a great outcome for the business at the end. So I was giving an example earlier about that. So there could be many things that one individual has to take care of during a 9 to 5 business day, or today it's not the same, but okay, during the business operations, you may have to talk to your customers, you may have to write a report, you may have to have an internal meeting, you may have to do a coaching session, you may have to do a peer review, you may have to even talk to external parties, stakeholder management, whatever. So we do many things, right?
Yep.
And so I try to identify basically on my one-on-ones with my team members based on asking questions to them. So what makes you most motivated? So where do you feel you're at your best during those engagements that you have? And then it would naturally come. Somebody would say, well, I really enjoy talking to customers. And somebody would say, wow, I really enjoy presenting internally about our team's success. Someone else would say, yeah, I really enjoy attending events and then presenting to wider audiences. And basically, based on that, you identify certain strength areas. And somebody will say, yeah, I really enjoy coaching and teaching other people how to do things. And then after that, following up and seeing their successes. We all have these core motivational areas. And I think identifying them and creating an environment where this core interest strength can be aligned with, as much as possible, it's not always possible, aligned with at least initiatives and certain projects and programs that you can create, I think is really creating a supercharged outcome, if I can say so. So the throughput is increasing significantly. That's what I noticed. And it makes also people motivated and willing to do more, right? Without any push necessarily, because at the end of the day, they really enjoy what they are doing. So that's what I call one of my, I think, areas that I really enjoy doing is building and managing those teams, what I call high performance teams. And then high performance teams is not necessarily about how you build the team, but also how you manage the team in terms of execution. Of course, it's very important, the team dynamics, how you select the right people to join your team, but it is somehow a bit overstated, I would say, that the team dynamics is very important in the way that the execution is. I think the leader has a lot to do. Sometimes there will be always people, let's say you have 10 people, there may be someone that is contributing to a disruption or some performance issue in the team, and that you need to identify and do something about it. I'm not saying that you can coach everyone to performance, but I'm saying that the team dynamics, you can really, in most cases, you can really create a much higher throughput or performance out of that team if you really pay attention to people's own interests and strengths, and then how together they basically create a certain outcome.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
Sounds like magic.
Yeah. Well, it's not really. I mean, I'm sure it's covered in many other research books and leadership.
No, of course, but
stuff.
you need to feel it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to feel it yourself, and I see that you had such an experience in your past. Okay, so you graduated, right? You graduated in 2013.
Yes.
And then it's been 11 years till today.
Oh, already. Wow. Okay. Yes.
So, how was your career looking after graduation, and how you finally got into the entrepreneurship that you were looking for even before the school?
Yeah, I think yes. I think the education, or I say the experience, has given me more than everything. I think the confidence and the drive to change. Right. So I changed my job pretty quickly afterwards. I changed the house, which doesn't count, but I changed. There's many things I could change. I think in my life, because I think I had clarity, right, about what I want to achieve. Of course, you cannot relate that to school. As I said, it's always also what you seek out of that is what you get, right? So because I was seeking clarity and purpose, and I got. I think I managed to get that out of that. So yeah, I continued my career journey. I managed to make basically a successful career change, moving to a sector which I was really interested to understand. I was always a telco guy, and I wanted to understand enterprises. So, and then I was basically working with enterprises at the time, which was quite also exciting with Cisco. So I was, I think, brave enough to make that step change in my career. That was one, I think, important area. And I always was motivated to start my own business. Definitely, I was watching for the right moment, as we were blessed with 3 children during that period after my education. That, I think, decision was delayed a little bit.
So
the fear factor.
Unexpected outcomes of the executive MBA.
That's maybe it. Yeah. Growth comes in different ways, I guess.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that family side growth, I think, has also contributed definitely to my decision-making process. In terms of when and how I would do step into entrepreneurship, but it was in the making. So, and I had the opportunity, I guess, to do this because I was just, as I said, I set myself a milestone. It's a mental milestone, or you would call a mental target. As I said, for my executive MBA, I set a mental target, 40. And for the startup, I set a mental target as 50.
Okay.
So before I hit 50, I started already working on ideation and, basic business plan development, etc. when I was still employed. And then when I hit 50, I was ready to launch it, So
you have, it becomes even more interesting. So now you have 3 children.
Yes.
More.
Yes.
You're quitting your career, your official career, to go into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And it sounds like
3 young children. Yes.
Sounds like quite a challenge, I would say. Now you've been doing this thing for how long? For how many months?
Yeah, I'm a full-time CEO now for 8 or 9 months. The time flies, really. 9 months, I think. Yes.
9 months.
Yeah, I'm startup journey, of course, and what we are building is quite ambitious one because it's an AI-enabled marketplace for technology professionals, and connecting the verified technology talent with the demand. So as it was quite an ambitious one and required a lot of software development and innovation and also artificial intelligence modules inside, we managed to launch it in September, just recently. It was been, I think, 14 days official launch. So before that, it was a period of MVP. I was busy raising funds. And on top of that, developing the product. I think most of the work that I was doing was around that product development and fundraising for the first 6 to 9 months. But on top of that, there are, of course, many other things. And we managed to build a team. I think in January, we had maybe 5 people. Now we are 30. So it was,
quite a progress, huh?
Quite progress in terms of number of people and the launch. And now it's time to go and get market share. That's what we are working on. So our second phase.
Do you have your first clients?
Yeah, we have 3 clients already. Actually, we are just signing the 4th one in the system. And as we are a marketplace, we started with, the fitting up the shelves. As you enter a market, of course, you want to see some products on the shelves, and our products are the service offers and the vetted technology talent. Mm-hmm. So we have now over 250 providers and about 15 service offers that's already ready to explore. So yeah, we are ready to get our customers on board, and looking forward also to GITEX, which is going to happen in 10 to 12 days. I think it's starting, and our presence there also will be very important for both awareness of customers, brand image recognition, and also creating our launchpad for success for 2025.
Okay, I like the optimism, but I mean, is that optimism? Is it the same optimism you're having day to day? I mean, startup journey is not an easy one.
No. Optimism is not day to day for sure. I mean, but you have to stay an optimist to make a startup work for sure. So, and if you are not, I think optimistic, there's no way you can. It's a real. It's really difficult, particularly if you're a startup. Okay, people say I'm a startup and I have a coffee. I build a cafe or a restaurant. That's not a startup. They are businesses. Startups are basically things that you build, which are scalable, repeatability, and if you're trying to build a venture scale startup like I do, which is I think quite a tough one. So it's not my words that to speak, but I was talking to another startup founder, and actually it was like 6 months ago, and I wasn't relating to what he said, but I relate to him now. He said, Onur, some days you will want to commit a suicide, and some days you want to party like there is no tomorrow, because it's too volatile, I would say, and the risks that you need to manage are a lot. So yeah.
But what or who helps you managing this whole thing?
So I think building a team of trusted people around you, I think is one of the key things that I really enjoy. So I have a co-founder team with me, and then they are basically really trusted individuals that I worked with in the past. Also, that was, I think, one of the key decision points that I made to select people that I can trust and that I know I can count on. That makes a difference. We are all, I think, senior and experienced in business, and also dealing with people. That level of maturity also helps, I think, to go through certain, times of trouble and cycles. Particularly if you are, I think, mature and experienced in dealing with people. I mean, managing the risks, I think, as I said, is a daily operational hazard, So, team, basically, that's what I can say. Without a team, we have a solid team and a trusted team. Setting up the culture of the organization, I think, has been also one topic that I was very much focused on from the start. Of course, I read quite a few books about it, but also intuitively I said setting up the right culture is also a key to success for a startup. So that's the motto we say in our business: walk the talk, and an open and transparent communication is key. So that's what we live by every day. We are trying to be very clear about accountabilities, but at the same time very open and transparent about all our dealings, as much as you can. Of course, there are certain things that are confidential to customer or investors, and other things that are need to know basis. But the other operational aspects, we are really very open and transparent in our communication and dealing with both individuals internally and team members externally as well.
Onur, you had such an interesting path, again, from telecoms to INSEAD to medium-sized companies that we actually can also talk a little bit about, and to startup. But what was the big idea? What you're trying to achieve?
With my startup, or personally, what I want
personally.
to yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, what do you want to do a startup? Yes, and this is the thing. I think I'm always motivated with challenges. I think it is clear to you also after discussing a little bit. So challenges are, and then the challenges in corporate life and challenges and learning. I think two things I think are very important for me somehow. So what is the most important challenge that I think one can achieve professionally or overcome professionally? Is to build something from scratch, right? So it's just basically nothing exists. It's an idea. And then you basically build a product, a team, a company, a successful venture around it. So that's basically what I want to achieve. my fifth child, I guess. That's the goal in a way. Or don't tell my wife, but okay, so fun. Yes, definitely is one achievement that I want to be there. And why I'm doing this, as I said, I was always had this inside me that I have to try it. And I always remember somebody telling me, okay, when you are in your deathbed, there's one, if somebody asks you, what are your biggest regrets? You should not say that I didn't try. So then I'm giving my best now to make it work.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Onur, thank you so much for your time, for sharing all this insights, all this learnings that you had in your life. Thank you so much for being my first guest in this pilot episode of Beyond the Business School podcast. And look, what I can say, I can wish you only all the best with your fifth child.
Thank you.
It really, it's what's really interesting is that when you speak about startups, it's all about like young people, like people in 20s that are going out there doing all things AI. I know you have this stereotype, right? That startups is about young generation.
Yeah.
What I admire about you, you had this from the very beginning, and you planned it in a way. And you're 50 and you're supercharged.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it plan. I mean, if I had probably if I think now, I would have done it earlier, right?
Okay.
But again, life happens. So didn't plan it, but didn't give up, I must say. So
yes.
that's basically that's what I am. I don't give up easily. So.
And look, and success comes to those people who don't give up in the end of the day. So look, all the best to you. And
startups are about resilience. That's, I think, something that definitely a key learning.
Look, all the best to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right, cheers, man.